Hey guys, Dan here. Welcome to this review. Today we're going to have a look at the Moza ecosystem, consisting in this case of the R16 base, the dashboard and the GT steering wheel. So you probably already heard of Moza. They are everywhere on YouTube now. The R9 base is a very interesting direct drive at a low price, but we're actually going to have a look at the slightly higher end setup here, the R16 with the GT steering wheel. I want to start with the base. We have a direct drive system, so the force is directly applied to the steering wheel, not through a belt or something. We have 60 Newton meters of maximum torque, which should be plenty, and a resolution of the rotation measurement of 18 bits. The housing itself looks very nice. It reminds me of the old Fanatec belt-driven systems a bit more, but the build quality is really, really good. The orange finish looks great. It's something a bit fancier looking than just like, for example, the VRS, which is like an industrial servo motor. But obviously, it's all personal preference if you like it or not. I think it looks pretty cool in person. On the back of the device, you have the power supply connection, USB, and you can also connect an emergency button. But I think at 60 Newton meters, it's not really necessary. It's still like possible to easily hold the wheel, even if it goes crazy. And it also does not come with one in the box. Price for the base is $999. You can get it in orange or in black. And you can also get like this mounting clamp, which is very nice. It only connects from the bottom. There are no mounts on the side or something. But you can also get an extension to bring the steering wheel closer to you. Would be nice for this rig, but I don't have that. And I think you can also buy the e-stop for around $50. Okay, next thing is the dash, which is a very nice looking dash. It's 800 by 480 pixels, 5-inch, 60 Hertz refresh rate. It nicely mounts directly on top of the base, so you can only use it in this ecosystem. In general, I think Moza definitely wants to offer their own ecosystem that is tailored towards all the products itself, you know. Whether that's a good thing or not, I don't know. I'm never really a big fan of these ecosystem solutions that only work with your own products. You cannot use the dash with anything else because the connection is there are 4 pogo pins that connect to the base. So it gets the data directly from the base. If you don't have the R16 or R21 base, then you cannot use this dash. The dash is $300. I think that's a bit on the pricey side for what you get. Don't get me wrong, the build quality is excellent. The display looks really, really good. I mean, the black value could be a bit better. It's like very gray instead of black. But there are like a few presets that you can use, and you cannot use it, for example, with SimHub to put your own data on it. And that kind of limits the use case a little bit. I would not recommend this dash. I would just get like a third-party dash and then use it with SimHub, to be honest. If you want to use it, if you're fine with the presets, I'll show you which presets there are on the software later. Then it's fine, but for me, it's not very useful. Okay, next thing in this product is the quick release. And I have to say, the quick release is probably the best quick release that I have used so far. It's not the one with the least flags. I think the Zero Play might be a little bit better regarding that. But I mean, like if we test this, you can move, the seat is moving. You can move it a little bit. You don't notice it at all while driving. It's totally not distracting. And it's a proper quick release. I mean, look at that. It's bam. It's so easy to remove and so quick to put on. It's definitely, I mean, I have tested a lot of quick releases, but I would say this is the best quick release that I have used so far. If we look at this, we have 3 little pads here for power. And then at the back of the wheel, there are a few pins that connect to this. This is how the wheel gets power, and then the communication is done wirelessly. I think they use Bluetooth, some proprietary. You cannot use this wheel with anything else because it just connects to the base. There's nothing you have to do. That's cool on the one side, but also like it would be nice to have a USB version of the wheel because I think for $500, that's the price of this wheel, it's excellent value. And if you could use this with any base, they could probably sell this wheel a lot. You need to pay attention when you install the wheel. It cannot be like slightly off center. I mean, you can still put it on, but then it will not lock into place. All you need to do is like rotate the wheel slightly to get it in the correct position. Okay, let's talk about the wheel. We have a standard round rim. You can also get it as a D-shaped rim. I think it's 320 millimeter diameter. I'm not exactly sure. You get a dual clutch. You get 2 shifters on the backside. There's a little bit of play in the shifter, especially on the left side. The right side, interestingly, is like perfectly fine. The left side, a little bit of wiggling here, but again, this is nothing you notice while driving. I would say it's fine, but I wish they would pay a little bit more attention to the tolerances to get the left side feel exactly like the right side. The clutch feels good. There are several modes you can use. You can use it for a dual clutch with a master and a slave clutch. Then you can also use it as separate axes. So for example, if you want to use the right side for throttle, the left side for braking, you can do that. And you can also configure it as buttons. On the front, we have 5 normal push buttons. Not the best button in the world, but definitely feels good enough. There is some haptic feedback you feel when you push the button. It's not mushy or something. I just wish it wasn't so colorful. I don't know why so many companies think it's good to put on all the colors that exist. I think the wheel would look much nicer if they maybe just use 2 colors. I mean, maybe black buttons and yellow buttons or something, but yeah, whatever. It also has a horn button, which actually is a button. Pretty cool. And then you have 2 joysticks here. You can either configure it as left, right, up, down and push button, or you can also use one of them as a D-pad which also like recognizes a position like in between up and right. So you have up, right, or whatever you call this. So you can get plenty of inputs with this. There's no rotation on these, so it's not a funky switch, but you can still get a lot of functionality with these 5-way switch, let's call it like that. Then we have 2 encoders. They feel nice. The resistance while turning them feels good. You can push them down to get like a second function out of it. And then, last but not least, we also have a nice shift light indicator on top. It kind of looks very fancy with just this one solid stripe of light. Looks very cool in the game. And yeah, it's honestly like for $500, this wheel is insanely nice. The steering wheel itself, I would say it's exactly the same wheel as in the Camus that I reviewed last week. Looks the same, feels the same. It's really, really high quality. It's leather. You can also get it in Alcantara, which I cannot recommend because Alcantara looks nice for a week and then it kind of stops looking nice. I totally would use this wheel on my SimCube as well. I think it's a great GT wheel. But yeah, that's it for the features. I would say I'll show the software briefly and then we'll go on track. Okay, so when you install the software, kind of similar to the Camus, like some of the license texts are actually in Chinese and I wish there was an English version to, I mean, let's be honest, who reads that stuff? But still, if you would want to read it and you don't know Chinese, well, you're out of luck. But yeah, this is like minor stuff that I would love to see changed though. Another thing that I disliked is you download the latest version of the software from the website, you install it, and the first thing you see, hey, there's a new version available. Do you want to update? Always kind of annoying, but whatever. Okay, so when you start the software, first of all, there's a dark mode, so enable that first. And it kind of, the layout also reminds me a little bit of the Camus app. You have the game launcher on the right side here. Kind of nice to have. And then an overview of your steering wheel, the settings and everything. The stock settings this base comes with are horrible. So if you get it and you think, oh my god, this feels bad, it's because of the stock settings. They just make no sense in some points. I'll show you my settings. And if you have the base, you can try those, see if you like that better. But yeah, let's go to the first tab, which is the settings for the base. You have several presets available here. I don't know if you can override them. I think you can't. I think you can only modify it and then save your settings in a file, but no dropdown or something. Would be cool to have like your own customizable settings here, but I typically don't change these values between games anyway, so it doesn't really matter for me. So here you set up the steering angle. I always use 900, can recommend that. Then road sensitivity is how much you feel the tiny details of the road. I use 8 or 7 here typically. That feels pretty good to me. And then the game force feedback intensity, set this to 100%. Always set the base to the maximum available and then turn it down in the game, otherwise you will introduce artificial clipping. Maximum speed of steering wheel. To be honest, I have not played that much with this setting. The 60% feel good to me. Here the tooltip says that the higher values are more suitable towards drifting and the lower values more towards like normal driving. Like something in the middle for me, 60% feels good, but yeah. Play around with the setting and see what you like best. Then next thing, we have a centering spring. I never use that. And the damping for me, 20%. I think is actually the default value. Feels good. It gets more interesting in the advanced settings though. First of all, professional game force feedback intensity. Always have this at 100%. I think it makes no sense to have this on any other value. You can also go higher than 100%, but then again, you will have like weird clipping when you don't want to. I would always leave everything at 100% in the base and then adjust in the game. Same here, that's the maximum strength. Hands-off protection, you can use it, I don't use it. And then inertia friction, I always use a little bit of inertia and friction. Can recommend to get like a little heavier wheel. I feel like I'm more precise with the inputs. When I use a little bit, many people turn this off completely, but give it a chance. See how it impacts your driving. I can definitely recommend running some inertia and friction. Then this is set to, I don't know, something per default, but just disable it. In my opinion, it makes no sense to have this because most games have some sort of speed-dependent damping, and if you use it in the software and in the game, it's like twice, and it just doesn't feel good, to be honest. So I would recommend turning this off. Then one thing that is very interesting is actually like an equalizer. On the x-axis you have the frequency, on the y-axis you have the amplitude, and for force feedback it kind of works exactly the same as in the audio world. The force feedback signal always has like a specific frequency. So for example, if you drive over a curb, these vibrations, the faster you go, the faster are the vibrations. And this is exactly shown here. For example, 80 kilometers per hour riding over a curb, or like 240. And like that, you can fine tune your force feedback, whether you want to feel the 240 kilometer curbs a little less, then you can turn it down. I don't exactly see how this is very useful. I played around with the settings, but I just left them at 100%. So this doesn't have any effect for me, but it's cool that you can do some fine tuning here. Something that I'm missing is like an interpolation filter, especially for older games like iRacing, where you only have 60 Hz force feedback. It would be nice to have a configurable interpolation filter to get a better feeling force feedback, but yeah, the space doesn't have it. Okay, in the next tab, you can configure the steering wheel. See all the buttons here. I actually kind of like to use the dual clutch in button mode. Like this is the regular dual clutch mode, axis combined. So you let go the one clutch and then hold the other clutch and slowly like get rid of it. That's how you do standing starts, for example. Axis split, like I said, then you have two axes, for example, for throttle and brake. But I like to use the button mode for one reason. I think the position of the shifter is a little bit too high. Like for my hands, I found that I press the shifter and the clutch at the same time. And what I just did is I just used the clutch as a shifter. They kind of feel similar, and it's just more ergonomic for me to use the clutch. So I'm just using the dual clutch as my shifters here. Then here you can configure whether the stick should work as a button or as a D-pad. And then you can also like configure the shift light indicator, like which mode you want to use, which colors should be used and stuff like that. I pretty much have it here on default. So lower revs are green, and then when I need to shift, it will go to the purple lights. And then also you can adjust the brightness of the shift light indicator. Okay, we don't have pedals, so nothing in here. And here we have the digital dash. And I mean, these are the presets that you get. They work fine on some games, on some others they don't work fine. So for example, here the pedals, if you don't use Moza pedals, but you have pedals on the dash, it will not work. Tire temperature, if you play iRacing, for example, it will not work. I just wish this was more customizable, that you could create your own layouts. I typically ended up just using this here for the gear and the speed because I don't know. I have to say, like, none of these designs are super pretty. Maybe the race one here. Let's leave it on this one, but I would just buy a third-party dash if you want to use the dash, and then you can put on whatever you want. Okay, so here, this cloud icon is the firmware update mode. We are in the latest version. And then there are some more settings. Link to the website and everything. But I would say we'll hop into the game. We'll go to ACC first. All right, so we are on ACC. You can use one of these joysticks to control the menu, which is pretty cool.
Green light, go, go, go.
And then let's drive a little bit. It feels very alive, this force feedback. There are definitely all the details in here. I can feel the ABS. I can feel the curbs. I can feel it a little bit better than on the Camus, for example, that I reviewed last week. But then again, this base also is like twice the price. All the characteristics a direct drive should have are here. I don't feel like the force feedback quality, at least on ACC, is worse than my Simracing, for example. It's definitely weaker. We are clipping the force feedback here. And I wish there was a little bit more headroom available. Like for example on the dash now, no tire temperatures. Even though ACC should provide the data for that. Oh no. Oh, illegal tire cooling. Oh no, wait, wrong game. Position of the dash actually is pretty nice because I can see it through the wheel. But yeah, I just wish this would be like compatible to SimHub or something, or just at least like give us an editor to do our own dash or something. As of now, I think it's... I can't recommend it. I think it's pretty useless like that. Actually, I have to correct myself. Apparently there was an update. I never noticed that before because I never used the dashboards. I can see my pedal inputs now. In the old version it wouldn't show me anything, but I can see the pedal inputs now on the dash. But yeah, I mean, I'm used to super high force feedback from my Simracing, so I wish this was a little bit stronger. But I think it will be fine for most people, especially if you maybe combine it with a smaller wheel. Like this is 320, so you know, physics. Oh my god, I can't drive. The bigger the wheel, the less force feedback will arrive in your hands. And they also have a very nice formula wheel at 300mm diameter now, I think. So, but yeah, honestly, I could totally see myself using this base and not missing my regular base too much, apart from the force feedback strength. I probably would prefer the R21 with 21 Nm of torque, but it's fine. Let's see this. It likes to rotate a lot, but I guess this is the setting that is coming from. Let's see if we can get rid of this. The speed. Wait, where was that? Maximum speed of steering wheel. So let's try a lower setting, what they recommend for road cars. Let's start the car up again. Yay, flat spots. Not ideal, but it's better, I would say. I probably need to increase friction and inertia a little bit too, because it still is relatively light. Now it will just start oscillating. Same thing happens like on Fanatec bases from my experience. The Simracing is very good regarding that. The Camus also was decent with the oscillations if you let go of the wheel. But let's hop on iRacing now. Alright, here we are. Force feedback is set to the maximum setting. It feels a bit stronger on iRacing than on ACC, even when that was running at the highest setting. And kind of same thing as in the last week's review. The interpolation filter for iRacing, I wish it had one, because the force feedback data from iRacing is kind of not so good, let's put it like that. And without an interpolation filter, it can feel a little bit bad on direct drives. I mean, again, it's still, it's fine. This is like crying at a very high level. But it would be cool to have that. Again, if you could probably get easily rid of that by just using IRFFB, because that has like much higher frequency force feedback generated from telemetry, but we are just testing it with the default force feedback from iRacing. Apart from that, all the details are there. You can feel the road, you can feel the curbs, you can feel exactly what the car is doing. It's interesting because like ACC was set to the maximum strength, and still iRacing force feedback kind of feels a bit stronger. I don't know why that is. So this time the dash will show tire temperatures, but wrong tire temperatures. They will only update when you go into the pits. Also pedal overlay works fine here. But I'm a big fan of the shift light indicator on this wheel. It just looks cool. But yeah, it's a direct drive. It feels like a direct drive. All the details are here. Please give us a interpolation filter, and then this will be really, really nice on iRacing. I think filters like the static force reduction, for example, we find on the SimCube 2 or VRS, for example, are not really needed at lower power bases like that. I would still like say 16 Newton meters is... low power is probably like the wrong word. I would say like medium. But I'm just so used to running the SimCube at full power that 60 Newton meter feels a little bit weak in comparison. But it's probably fine for most people. But yeah, I think there's not much more I can say about the base while driving. I think the steering wheel is just excellent. It's... Please make a USB version of that. I would buy that. But yeah, let's go to the conclusion. So overall, I have to say, this is a very nice package. The build quality is really, really good on the base, on the dash. Not very good on the steering wheel, but still good. Like a few things I would change, like the tolerances on the shifter could be a little bit better. Don't give me every color that is available on the buttons. That would look better. But yeah, it's a great package. I do think it's a little... Like at the price of $999 without taxes, the base is actually more expensive than the VRS base. And while it looks better or different, let's say different, it really, like if you like this industrial look the VRS gives you, then you won't like this and the other way around. But I think it's priced too close to something like the VRS or the SimCube 2 Sport. If I had to choose a wheelbase at $1,000, I would probably get the VRS instead because it has a little bit more power. I feel like the software, while it looks horrible, it's still the filters and everything are more mature, you get more adjustability. But this is a more polished package. And the force feedback quality itself, I wouldn't say it's worse than VRS or SimCube. To me, it feels like on a similar level. The dash, I cannot recommend. I mean, the dash itself, it looks great. But at $300, just having like 7 or 8 presets that you can choose that don't work on most of the games, I don't know. I would save the money for this. Steering wheel, great, like I said. Quick release is great. I think it's a good entry by Moza. I think maybe the R21 at the price of the R16 would be a better deal here, but I'm not making the prices. The R9 is a very promising looking product. I have never tried one. I would love to get my hands on one at some point, but I think the R16, while being a really good product, is slightly too high on the price compared to the competition. But then again, it really depends on what you're looking at. 60 Newton meters might be plenty for most people. It's a little bit too low for me. But in the end, you have to really see what you want and then make your choice. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this review. I hope you liked it. If you didn't, let me know in the comments down below why. And if you did, maybe hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.